Hello, this is Juliet Gladies Jayasuria. Welcome to Evaluate to Motivate segment. In this segment, we will be talking to champion evaluators to learn from them the art of evaluation. Today, we are blessed to have with us Verity Price from South Africa. She is a global speaker, world champion of public speaking in 2021, District 74 Evaluation Champion in 2015. She activates optimism and innovation in organizations. Hi, Verity. Welcome to Evaluate to Motivate session.
Hi, Juliet. Lovely to be here.
Thanks for joining us. So let's get started, and I would like to ask you some certain questions with regard to evaluation. Tell us about your journey as an evaluator. When and how did you discover that evaluation is your strength?
I think the honest truth is evaluations, I realized early on in Toastmasters were the one skill I needed to work on. And I just enjoyed giving feedback. I loved the opportunity to see the strengths in a speaker and also see the gaps that if they could fill them in, they would take their speaking to the next level. And so I always put my hand up to evaluate from early on in Toastmasters, and was very lucky that the first time I ever entered the evaluations contest, I managed to go all the way to district and win. But it's definitely ignited a love of mentoring and helping speakers to become the best they can be.
That's excellent to hear. It's always good to work on the areas where we have to improve. And I think Toastmasters is a very good platform for us to do that. So what are the strategies to be adopted to open an evaluation speech?
So I think, and especially in terms of giving evaluation contests, often your opening and your closing are what gets people's attention because you are standing up on stage and also speaking. So for me, when I'm listening to a speaker, I'm looking at their strengths, I'm looking for their areas to improve, suggestions, but I'm also looking for standout phrases that they've used or their message statement. And when I have that standout phrase or their message statement, I use that in my opening. And generally as a thank you to the speaker for motivating me to get out and run up mountains or whatever it was that they were speaking about. And if I can drop a little bit of humor in there that involves the audience, I do. But you've got those 10, 15 seconds to get everyone in the room listening and also to make the speaker feel heard and seen by the way you start the evaluation. So starting with formalities really is a waste of time. Thank you and well done and so great. That can come later. Start with, John, you have blown my mind. Today you've shown me it's possible to do the impossible, and then get into the evaluation.
That's a good strategy, Verity, to address to the point and also to add in humor. I think it will really capture the audience much better.
Yeah.
So how to give 360-degree evaluation? Are there any techniques that one can adopt to give a well-rounded evaluation?
100%. So the best way to know how to give a great evaluation is actually to look at the judging ballot of an evaluations contest and look at what the judges are looking for. So they're looking for your analytical ability to listen to a speech and to reflect on it. They're looking for how warm you are and how you address the speaker. Are you motivating them and rather than demotivating them? And then they're looking for those clear recommendations and also that you summarize what you've said. So often what people do is they give great feedback, but then they finish and they don't kind of just quickly summarize the points that they've covered so that the speaker can have them fresh in their mind. So the formula that I follow is have a really engaging introduction using something from the speaker's speech that you can kind of make your own to start strong. Go straight into 2 to 4 strengths that you've noticed in their speech with specific examples from their speech. You can't just say, oh, I love your humor, and then not give an example. Like, for example, when you said that, and then give the example about what they said that was funny. So give specific examples of their strengths because that illustrates your analytical ability and your theoretical knowledge of what makes a great speech. Then go into 1 to maximum 3 areas of concern. And again, this is subjective. So just say, I felt, or I noticed, or I would suggest. So you want to do it in a gentle way, again, so that you're motivating them, not demotivating them. And with each, only point out a weakness if you've got a suggestion to fix it. If you can't tell them how to fix it, you are not ready to give feedback on it. That's my humble opinion. Only give feedback on something that you can help them improve. So if they weren't pausing and they were too fast, give them an example out of their speech and put in the pause so that they can see you demonstrating the change. So you have to illustrate the recommendations. And so once you've done that, summarize. So in summary, please remember to work on these 3 things, but keep up these 3 strengths. And then the kicker is to have a powerful conclusion. And generally, again, your speaker will have given you a line, a funny thought, something from their speech that if you've jotted it down, you can maybe turn it, you could make it a little bit humorous, and you give it back to them as a gift. You give them back something from their speech to say, go out there and reach great heights. So that's my formula. Introduction, strengths with examples from their speech, weaknesses with suggestions, summarize their weaknesses, then their strengths, and end with a powerful concluding sentence that draws on something from their speech.
That's really interesting to hear from you, Verity, to give back something to the speaker. I think that is a fantastic phenomenon, and it's also good to use a structure. So everyone who is new will always be good to follow the same structure what you have suggested.
Yes.
Having said
if
that,
you jump, I'm just going to say, if you jump between weaknesses and strengths and they can't follow you,
exactly,
and people are sensitive, so you have to build them up first before you say, I loved all of this. I was a little concerned about this, and they're going to hear you. But I've seen evaluators start with all the problems and the speaker can't listen. So always start with strengths and then be very gentle and motivating in the recommendations.
That's very nicely pointed out, that we need to motivate those people to improve in their areas. That's fantastic to hear. Having heard from you, Verity, that we have a big structure to follow on, the introduction, the positives, and then the areas to improve, and then the conclusion. There is definitely the time which has to be really spoken of. So how can we effectively manage time to organize the evaluation speech?
What I do is I have a template. So if I have an A4 piece of paper, I do a grid with 4 blocks.
Okay.
On the top of the grid is I put opening statement. So I'm listening and I just make a line for that one thing I'm going to open. The first block is strengths with examples. Again, 2 to 3. You can't speak about all of them. You have to be strategic. Speak about the main ones. 1 to 2 areas of improvement and suggestions, and then your summary, and then your conclusion. Why people go over time is they're trying to put too much in, but also an evaluation, and this is very important, an evaluation is not about what the speaker spoke about. It's not about the content. It's about how they spoke about it. And I see people going over time because they're like, oh, I also got lost on a holiday in Italy and I hate it when they do that with the airlines. That is not relevant. What is relevant is talking about how the speaker built tension in the airport when they're about to miss the plane. You can reflect, oh, I love that. I also have dogs, but that's it. So you're not there to evaluate the topic of the speech. You might mention it. You might suggest it wasn't relevant to the audience. But I've said to people, you can give a winning evaluation on a topic that you do not agree with if all you focus on is how they delivered it. Even if you don't agree with what they were speaking about, you should be able to evaluate the speech, not the speaker, and not the topic, or not the content, if that makes sense.
That's excellently put forward. We should not evaluate the speaker, but only their speech. That's fantastic to hear. So having heard this, so is it important to conclude, Verity? And what methods do you prescribe for conclusion?
So conclusion is critical because those are your last words. So that's what they remember. I always, when I'm getting to my conclusion, I do my summary first, and I always go, in summary, please remember to work on your pauses and your eye contact. Keep up your amazing word pictures and your humor, whatever I've noticed. And then my final sentence, I draw from their speech. And if you watch my 2015 district championship where I won the district contest, the speaker had been talking about the power of love and this crazy little thing called love. But many times in his speech, he said, when it comes to love, you want to seek it, nurture it, and strike again. And I had commented on that as a strength because it was a triplet. But the minute he said it, I wrote that down as my conclusion, and I changed it because he was talking about love. And I said to him, when it comes to this crazy little thing called speaking, seek it, nurture it, strike again. So I used his beautiful triplet to end my evaluation powerfully. So you've got your speaker is giving you your conclusion. It's not about you, it's about them. And they will say something or do something fantastic. Can you just reflect back on that in your conclusion? And that will end on a high.
That's interesting to know, Verity, that we need to conclude also from the key points from what the speaker speaks. I was actually thinking that it should be our own conclusion, the evaluator's conclusion, but I think this is a very valid point where we can take the key points from the speaker's speech and then use that as our strategy to conclude. That's a fantastic way of putting forward. So how should a Toastmaster prepare for an evaluation contest? So probably it'll be good to hear from you, to learn from the champion.
Well, other than always putting your hand up to evaluate at club meetings, what I did in 2015 was I found, and in those days we were still on the legacy program, so it was quite easy to find speakers that were between their 6th and their 10th speech in the competent communicator journey, because I knew that would be the level of speaker I would be evaluating. And I also found speakers from around the world. So I got used to listening to different accents and different styles because I didn't know who our demo speaker was going to be. And watch that speech, take the notes, press pause, give yourself 5 minutes and evaluate. So practice with the timing, do it with a mentor or someone, a friend from your club, and then get them to give you feedback. But practice it and practice the formula of looking for that opening sentence, strengths with examples, weaknesses with recommendations, summary, and conclusion from their speech. So practice listening to speeches to set yourself up for success as an evaluator.
Okay, thank you so much to listen to that. But how do they really practice? Where are the resources where they can find out? So as an experienced evaluator, what is your advice to the new Toastmasters to prepare themselves for an evaluation contest? Where they can find the sources or how they can really practice it. So probably tell me your experience so that it'll be helpful for the new Toastmasters who are joining the Toastmasters International.
I think you have to start at your club. That is your resource. I can't really give you resources beyond that. I am looking at working on creating an evaluate to elevate program that people could do. But outside of that, if you look in your pathways, you will find great reading material on how to do an evaluation, but ask experienced Toastmasters, look at the judging contest ballot to see what are the things people are looking at, and then start trying to bring that into your evaluations. Go and look at winning evaluations and see what they seem to have in common and what they're doing well. But it's a journey of you have to stand up and evaluate at your club first and get used to evaluating, ask people for feedback. Did that come across well? What could I have done better? And most importantly, you have to get used to following the formula. Can't jump around between strengths and weaknesses. You have to go strengths, weaknesses, suggestions, summary, and end. If you're jumping around, you're losing your audience.
That's very interesting to know that we need to definitely practice, use all the resources from Toastmaster International website, and then get ready for the evaluation contest. Wow, that was wonderful talking to you, Verity. Thank you so much for your valuable time and knowledge that you had shared with us today. Hope this will help all the budding evaluators in their Toastmasters journey. So,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. So, this is Juliet signing off. Thank you.